G'day and welcome to the Investor Motivation Podcast. My name is Rob Gowdy, and today I've got Ashley Rowan, my very much long-term business partner and financial advisor who specialises in aged care. Welcome, Ash.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Very good. What's been happening in your world of aged care?
Yeah, lots happening, mate, and I'm glad we're having a chat today. From tomorrow, so the date is the 31st of October. So from November 1, big changes to the aged care system, whether that's home care packages, but residential aged care is when I spend a bulk of my time. So heaps of rule changes, mate.
Right. We might as well launch straight into it. And whilst I'd love to talk about family and how business and work's going, but what is the difference? You're talking about residential, obviously there's at-home services, residential aged care. What's been impacted here?
Well, both's been impacted, Rob. Let's just spend 30 seconds on the home care stuff. That's not my space I generally play in, but in terms of low means individuals who are staying at home and want the care services brought at home, for low means, nothing changes. A lot of it's heavily government subsidised. So the bulk of their age pension will be utilised to cover ongoing costs. So no disadvantage there for some. But those who are considered normal or wealthy individuals, they'll ask to contribute a bit more towards the ongoing cost of care packages. Now, the same again flows into residential aged care, but it's a lot more severe.
Okay, and Ash, when we're talking about obviously the at-home care services, what are we talking about there? Is this Meals on Wheels? Is this cleaning the gutters, cleaning bathrooms, getting the lawns mowed? Is it that type of practical help? Is that what we're talking about in that area?
Yeah, what you're talking about there, Rob, that's the component that is going to be a bit more means tested. So you'll contribute a bit more to what's considered non-clinical care. So the help with the grocery shopping, the help with, mowing the lawns and all that sort of thing, you'll be asked to pay a bit more for that. But the more sort of, replicating what a nurse does and bringing that care in your own home, it's going to be a lot more, it is a lot more government funded, but that will continue to do so moving forward.
Okay, and obviously the big plan around this is one to make sure that it's well funded. So no doubt the changes mean people are paying more, but to stop the need for people to go into residential aged care, which is what we all call a nursing home.
Yeah, and it's probably, you can see the government where they're standing with this one. They may not want to build all that infrastructure and build all new aged care facilities because the capital requirement's so high. So you've already got your house, you've already got the roof over your head, and you're paying for your own heating and cooling. The government don't have to contribute to that. So they're just trying to build the workforce and the funding model around that. That is going to become a lot more common than what it is or has been in the past and what it is right now. So
right, and obviously there's be a huge difference between the two, but obviously there is a point in time where people can't live at home for whatever reason, and they just need. That's when independence is gone and they need full-time care, and that's when we are talking about residential aged care needs and / nursing homes, and the rules have changed there, and that's obviously this is the 31st of October. The old world is, hours away from finishing, and essentially in a 30-second grab, Ash, what's changed? People just pay more. Is that the guts of it?
30 seconds at low means, so residents who are pretty much solely reliant on the age pension, nothing much changes in that space. You've still got a lot of government support, but for a standard resident or a wealthy resident, they're going to be asked to pay a lot more. So right. That's the guts of it, mate, and different forms of calculations in terms of your contributions towards your ongoing cost of care.
Right. So one quote I've always used, which no doubt you've heard me say in the past, that when it comes to aged care, I either have a lot or have next to nothing. Is that more so true now?
Yeah, I've been saying that for my clients for the past 15 years, Rob, where if you've got, and I'll give you some dollar numbers here, if you've got between, let's say, $200,000 and $500,000 worth of assets total, you're going to do things pretty tough.
Right. Yeah, because there's going to be, obviously, the big scary RAD, the refundable accommodation deposit. Have I got that correct?
Well done. Yep.
So the terminology is still the same?
Yeah, some new terminology getting introduced tomorrow, which we won't confuse everyone listening today. But the bulk of the accommodation costs, so your RADs and your DAPs and all that sort of thing, will continue the same. So, yep.
Right. Okay. But the numbers have just got bigger.
numbers have got bigger. And at the end of the day, when we find that individual between that $200,000 and $500,000, well, the average deposit for aged care has gone up now. So we used to use about 300 to 400 in our modelling. Now that's gone up to 500 to 600. So our ability to pay that off in one hit, it's been reduced.
Right. And why people in this space, why are they going to do it a lot tougher? Is that because they can't fully fund the whole thing, that the whole the refundable deposit, they can't fund the whole thing, and there is a calculation and interest that's paid on the unpaid amount? Is that where it sort of hurts, Ash, combined with other fees?
Yeah, that's right, Rob. If you can't afford to pay your deposit, you're going to get charged 6.71. That's the number tomorrow, 6.71% on your unpaid amount. So let's throw a scenario out there. Let's say an aged care facility's asked for 500 grand and you've given them 300 because that's all you can afford, and you want to keep a bit of cash in the bank for flexibility. Now that $200,000 outstanding at 6.71%, a little over 13 grand a year, that's got to come from somewhere. So that's going to chew away cash reserves. That's going to really chew into any income that you may get from the age pension or investment income, whatever you've got. But as you mentioned as well, there's other ongoing fees we need to be mindful of, such as a basic daily care fee, which is $65 a day. Now that's
Right.
$23,000 a year. That's 85% of the single pension. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky from a balancing act point of view. Well, how much do we put into the deposit and how much do we keep out that can get drawn down on over the next, aged care we plan for the long term, we have to, the next 5 to 10 years. So we've got to make sure that we get things right from day one.
Right. So I can see this being really problematic for, a couple living at home, retired couple, and they're well into their old age, and one of those, people need to go into care, and they own their home and they've got their car, and they might have $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in cash or in superannuation. But, if it's that sort of $300,000, they're not going to be able to fund the full amount in, and you're still running a house, and there's income needs at home as well as inside the home if care is needed. So what can those types of people do where their beneficiaries, their children, don't have the resources to help out?
Yeah, this is probably the trickiest case we come by, Rob. We just really get the numbers working for us. We start to model and project and create these different scenarios. The first thing we look at is social security. So if they're on the age pension, and you mentioned before, they own the house, they may have about 400 or 500 grand in cash or other assets. In that case, they're likely going to get some form of age pension. Now, as soon as one of those individuals goes into residential aged care, Centrelink will look at that scenario and consider you separated due to illness. Now, you're still a couple, but for the eyes of Centrelink, you're separated due to illness, and you'll both go to the single rate of pension each, which
Right.
couple combined, the maximum pension is 23 each. Single rate, the maximum is 30,000 each. So you might get an immediate uplift of Centrelink entitlement. So we explore that first, but then we start to model around. Okay, well, what capital, what cash, what liquidity is out there? Should we start paying these deposits for care to start bringing down these ongoing costs? And so we start to sort of chip away at it via that method there.
Right. Does the equity in the home play a part in that scenario where you still got someone living at home? Is that called a supported person?
I often call it that, but I think the correct terminology is protected person.
A protected person,
Yeah,
which means, that's, they can never make you sell the home.
It's essentially they'll keep the home, they'll exempt it. So obviously the home's already exempt when we're working out the age pension. You just get set on different thresholds for the assets test. For aged care purposes, the home won't be included in the means testing.
Right.
So if there's that supported or protected person, yep.
Yes. And is that where they say the home equity release scheme, where you can actually get a bit of an uplift by using little micro loans on the equity of your home? Could that play a part without upsetting other, I suppose, Centrelink income tests or anything like that, Ash? Because this is going to be all about cash flow, isn't it?
Yeah, the home equity access scheme. What's that, Rob? It's 1.5 times the maximum pension you get each year. So a single individual who's entitled to the full pension may get, instead of 30 grand a year, they may get 45, and they can request that
50%. Yes.
extra 15 grand there. Now, if you just have that sitting in your cash account, that could be classed as an assessable asset, cash in the bank. So you've got to be mindful that we're using that, whether we pay deposits for care or whether it's drip fed out in more regular payments, maybe just an uplift of what you're getting as the Centrelink age pension.
Right.
Now,
And that's how it is paid, the little micro loans, I suppose. But
yeah,
that is a solution for that awkward scenario where you got someone at home and a partly paid refundable deposit, and there's a cash flow shortfall. So
yeah,
that's a solution.
it's definitely an option to look into. I haven't really gone down that path. It'll be more prevalent moving forward when there's a little bit tight and aged care becomes a little bit more expensive. But we keep in mind that the extra amount we redeem out via that extra pension payments, well, Centrelink are going to apply a bit of interest on that as well at about, it's either 3 or 4%, one of the two, around that area anyway. So we've got to work out the overall benefits. But if from day one, is it to increase affordability, to ensure that the person at home has got sufficient cash flow to keep the lights on, yeah, that's an option for us for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, obviously, you've been giving advice in this area for well over a decade, Ash. I suppose, what's the most common scenario that you see where you're able to add value and, give people the peace of mind, either, financially they made the right decision or just to know what's happening in what is a exceedingly complex world?
Oh, the best part of my job is to provide comfort and confidence to my clients, because they're coming in when emotions are high. They don't understand the financial system relating to aged care. They don't know the terminology. It's a whole new language. I get it. They're worried about their mum or dad or loved one and their declining health. And so we want them to focus on that side while we get the numbers in order.
Yes.
So what we do is we can take off the administration off those clients. We do the paperwork. It's confusing. It's Centrelink applications at the end of the day. And as we know, that they're not a small task to undertake. So at the end of the day, it's working out a finance strategy. Once we get an understanding of the client's financial position, to say, okay, well, here's what aged care fees will cost for that particular individual, and here's how we can make it more affordable.
Yes.
And once we come up with that, then we come up with, well, option B, option C, and maybe option D. So a client can take all these different options back to the broader family group and say, hey, we've got multiple ways to fund this. Ash has given us his recommendation, but here's all the other options, because I've got to understand the family dynamic. And in most cases, Rob, I've got to admit, it makes sense to sell the house because that's generally our biggest asset, to pay the big deposits for aged care. Now, that won't work if daughter A is expecting to receive that house as some form of inheritance. So these other funding scenarios that we come up with sort of work in and around that and different dynamics of a family.
Right. So that leads on to, I suppose, a question that, more often than not, you're not dealing with, the person that's entering aged care. There's a reason why they're going in, but you're dealing with the beneficiaries. You're dealing with their children more often than not. How is that best handled where, let's say, there are 2, 3, or 4 or 5 siblings? Is it do you need a spokesman? You need one person to grab hold of that task and then communicate well back to their siblings, or do you need everyone in the room so they're on the same page? Which would all of a sudden you'd have those conflicts of interest and biases around what they may want, which in some instances we've seen over the years is they just may want their inheritance now. How is it best handled?
Yeah, every family dynamic's different. It's always case by case, but the consistent thing here is you'll generally have 1, maybe 2 actors power of attorney. So they'll take the lead on behalf of mum and dad. And so they'll reach out and most likely deal with us initially, but we will then encourage the broader family group to get together to understand what options you've got, just so everyone's on the same page. It is really all about, number one, the support and focus should be on mum or dad or that individual going into care, because we're going to make sure that there's affordability, that there's a great lifestyle there. They can be comfortable and financially secure once they're in aged care. Number 2 is worrying about the estate and beneficiaries. So when it comes to the estate and beneficiaries, it's all about setting expectations to say, okay, well, maybe at the end of the day, if we're paying deposits for aged care, the bulk of that will get paid back to the estate, and then it's dealt with via the estate, and then you'll get your inheritance. And if we start giving expectations in terms of, well, this is what the number will be, that's how we can sort of create more confidence as a broader family group and stop that, not the bickering, but maybe an estate from being contested or, relationships breaking down in that space. So, it's getting everyone involved, setting expectations.
Right. Now, one question I know that you receive, and I get periodically, is, people coming in, prior to perhaps needing aged care. And of course, no one knows when they're going to need it. But what pre-planning can I do to avoid paying, this? How much will it be? What's the biggest bond they can now charge? Is it $750?
Yeah, great, Rob. It's gone up from $550 to $750 as of July 1. But listen, you head down towards the city, it's already over that amount. An aged care facility's just got to apply for special approval, and they can charge in excess of $1 million. These numbers are quite common up that way.
Okay, so there is a cap, but you can apply for an exemption to be well above the cap.
Yeah, so the average one I'm seeing at the moment is around that, probably 6 to 7 now. It was 4 to 5, and now it's a big jump up.
Right. So I suppose two questions. Should people be thinking about pre-planning for aged care? And next question, when should they do it?
I often, we think about this one, and the funny thing is that as a client will lead into their permanent retirement, and that could be around 65 or 67, we start that pre-planning process generally at around age 60. We've got about 5 years left to work, and we're trying to maximise, super contributions or paying down debt. So the groundwork's really done at that point. When you start to compare that to aged care, the planning around that happens overnight, and it's generally after an event. So mum and dad may have had a fall, or, a sharp decline in health, and all of a sudden we've got the sons and daughters in here saying, okay, we've got this pending move in front of us, what do we do? So I don't see too many clients come in early on to say, okay, well, what are my options? Now, the only word of advice, and what I sort of look for when I give retirement planning advice is, well, what capital do we have to invest, and what should we have left over at life expectancy? Now, for us, that's 85, Rob. So at around age 85 or around that age there, we may need to move into aged care. So should we have a zero balance on our investment at that age? Possibly not. Should we have a couple $100,000 and a house up our sleeve? That's probably what we've got in our minds when we start to model and prepare someone for aged care. But it also means having that conversation earlier on as well.
Yeah, and of course everyone's keen to avoid any sort of bond. Any big number is always scary, and so, well, I've got to give away all my assets and obviously wait that 5-year deprivation period. So I go in as fully supported, but you've got to wait 5 years, and you may need to go into aged care. And if you've given away all your assets, and I've physically seen this done, if you've given away all your assets to the next generation, that money is not there. If you need it within 5 years, and I've physically seen that happen.
Yeah, 15 years I've been giving this sort of advice for Rob. I've never been able to recommend that strategy to one individual. I'm not that smart because, as you said, we don't know when we need aged care.
Or if we need it at all.
Exactly right, excuse me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So can you just run through the basic fees? I think we've covered off on the RAD, which is the refundable accommodation deposit. That's the big number that you've got to pay. And if you don't pay that, there is that 6.79, was it?
Oh,
percent?
I've got you, mate. Let's break it into 3 components. We'll do the upfront, then we'll do the 2 ongoings. So the upfront, it's our accommodation costs. I'll do the November 1 rules, given that it's tomorrow. Yep. We've got the option to pay it as a refundable accommodation deposit, so your big lump sum payment. Or if we don't do that, it's an interest charge. So that's called a daily accommodation payment. Or we can combine the two. Let's say we give them $100,000 as a lump sum and we pay the rest as an interest only. Now, we've got full discretion how we decide to pay that because no one's financial situation is the same. Plus, we may need to wait a long time to sell an asset, such as a house, before we can come up with a lump sum as well. So there's a bit of flexibility around there. Now, the big changes coming in from tomorrow is the reintroduction of retention. Rob, we haven't seen that since 2014. This is where an aged care facility can keep some of your deposit that you've paid, and then you'll get paid back the remaining amount if you leave the facility, or the remaining amount gets paid back to your estate. Now, the retention is 2% per year, maximum of a 5-year period. So over 5 years, it's 10%. So to give you some numbers on that one, if you pay a $500,000 deposit, the aged care facility will keep $50,000 after 5 years.
Okay. So I won't stop you on the explanation, but the average for the tenure for someone in an aged care facility is not 5 years, is it?
No, the numbers suggest it's 2.5 years, Rob. But I've had clients, last 5 to 10 years in aged care, so we're always planning out a longer term.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Just another change here, it's worth noting that the interest rate, so we mentioned 6.71%. Now, previously that was locked in on a date of entry. Moving forward, that's going to get indexed. So that's going to be a changing number for people. So it's not going to get cheaper each year. It's going to get more expensive. So we've got to make sure that our income, obviously an age pension will get indexed, but, if someone's not eligible for the age pension, we've got to make sure that their investments are earning a good amount of interest. Maybe there's some exposure to growth or whatever it may be.
Okay, fantastic.
Yep. All right, the ongoing, the basic daily care fee, that's $65 per day. Thankfully, nothing changes there.
Okay.
Now that's a common number. Everyone in aged care is charged that, whether you've got lots of assets or whether you've got no assets at all. That is calculated at a rate of 85% of the single rate of age pension. So there's an assumption there that if you've got no assets, you get the full pension and you can cover that fee. So nothing changes there. We won't spend too much time on that one. But there's going to be 2 means-tested fees moving forward. Instead of one, there's currently one. This is based on your income and assets. The one they're going to introduce, it's called a hoteling contribution. That's in excess of the basic daily care fee. Now, based on means, like I mentioned, so when you go into aged care, you fully disclose all your income and assets. The maximum daily amount from a hoteling contribution is $22 per day. And that works out the equivalent on an annual basis is about $8,000 per year. Now, that's a new fee. So as you can see, it's going to get a bit more expensive for new residents. And also the other ongoing means fee, the old terminology was means tested care fee. Now that had an annual cap of about $35,000 a year and a lifetime cap of around $84,000 per year. I think they're the numbers. I'm pretty close there. Now moving forward, the annual cap for that one is going to be $38,000 per year. And the lifetime cap is going to increase up to approximately $135,000. So from 85 to 135. Now, another key change with this one, Rob, is that you could be charged that for a maximum of 4 years. So if you're charged that for 4 years, then it stops whether you've reached the lifetime cap or not. Or if you reach the lifetime cap within that period, then it stops. So you've got to reach one of the 2 events. So for someone who's only being charged based on their means, let's say they don't have as many means as someone else, and that fee works out to be, $15,000 per year. Over a 4-year period, that's $60,000, then it'll stop. Okay. So if that makes sense.
Yeah. When you say their means, you're just talking about the amount of financial assets.
Yeah, income, assets, all that. Everything we use to calculate the age pension, it's everything we own.
Yes, fantastic. Very good. I think that is a really good summary of some of the changes, Ash, and probably, as everyone predicted, when there's some change coming in a sector that is obviously the care that's provided to look after people full-time, meals, accommodation, nursing, the whole shooting match. It was always just going to get expensive. It wasn't going to get cheaper, was it?
Yeah, the model's broken. These facilities are running at a loss. And one last number I'll throw at you before you go. The government averages it from an ongoing care point of view that it costs a resident on average $180,000 per year to provide that support in residential aged care. And even with these changes, the maximum on an annual basis that you'll contribute yourself is about $66,000. So even though the numbers are high and it seems expensive, there's a lot of government support in that space. And at the end of the day, you're getting the care you need. So it's yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So 180 is the estimated cost per person, and the maximum that any individual pays is 66, excluding obviously the interest the facility would get from the bond as well.
That's right. So we look at that as accommodation. That's your right to live there. Everything else is covering the cost of your care.
Understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well put. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's we live in Australia. We're lucky we've got these facilities if someone needs them, knowing that fortunately or unfortunately, people don't have a long tenure generally in these places.
That's right.
Yeah. Fantastic. Ash, how can people find you if they want to learn a bit more from the education efforts that you put in?
Oh, geez, it's follow the funnels down to the Consortium Private Wealth website. All our details are there. They can give us
You're
calls
on
directly.
TikTok as well?
All the socials, mate.
Yes.
TikTok.
What's your handle there? Because there's probably a few fake ones getting around.
Oh, there is, and they're very clever too, mate. They replicate everything and they download and upload my videos. But the handle there is Ashley Rowan, FA.
FA.
And you'll find me. Yep.
Fantastic. Very good. People can find me on Insta and TikTok as well. It's Rob_Gowdy. There's a lot of fakes out there. Be mindful and careful of those. I will never DM you first, and I'm sure you would be the same, Ash.
That's right.
People are free to reach out if they need help, but we'll never DM first. And that's how you'll tell us apart from the fakes. Thank you for your time, Ash. It's a complex area at a time that it's a stressful area for many people when they're going through. So really appreciate it. Thank you, Ash.
Anytime. Thanks, Rob.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.